now officially joining us in studio this morning, City Development Director Kevin Maevers back with us this morning. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks for hanging out for a little bit. I apologize.
I took a short nap. We've had a lot of late nights lately, so the extra 15 minutes was a very welcome break.
Well, very good. Well, I'm glad I could help there. So, yeah, you're right. A lot been going on here in the city as far as development side goes. Cannabis is a lot on people's brains, but that's not actually. There's a lot of other stuff going on too.
There is a lot of other stuff. In fact, I was, if you tuned in to last night's Planning Commission meeting, I referred to it as a green letter night, a green letter night, because it's and let's talk about the cannabis situation just a little bit, because there's been a tremendous amount over the of misinformation, disinformation, some outright rumors, and other things.
A lot of scuttlebutt.
That Roswell's cannabis ordinance was improper, illegal, didn't keep in mind the intent of the state and everything else. And last night proved that all of those rumors are completely incorrect.
Gotcha.
Okay. The two companies that came forward last night, Pecos Valley Production, which is one of the largest cannabis companies here certainly in this part of the state.
Yeah.
And then Ultra Health, NMTO Ultra Health.
Another large.
They're statewide as well. And in fact, the gentleman that spoke last night said that they are the #1 largest company statewide. Of course, it depends on how you measure largest.
Sure. I'm sure that's up for debate.
I've got at least two other companies I'm aware of that claim to be #1 in the state of New Mexico. But
they are a big deal in the industry.
They are a big deal. They are a big deal. Anyway, both of these companies were the first to apply to convert their existing medical marijuana facilities to have combination facilities to be able to sell both the recreational and the medicinal.
Gotcha.
They both filled out the applications properly. They both provided all the information that we felt was appropriate. The public hearing was set for last night. It was held. Staff provided all the data and the information, and then the applicants came up to speak. They both made terrific presentations. They addressed every single one of our security, safety, public health concerns, and everything else. And at the end of the evening, both of them were moved forward to the City Council for the meeting of the May meeting with recommendations from the Planning Commission for approval.
Okay. So is that their last step next month at that meeting?
Next month at that meeting will be their last step.
Okay.
They, assuming the City Council agrees with the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Gotcha.
And that's one of the slight differences that the City of Roswell has over a number of other, rather than leaving it completely in staff's hands. You know, the City Council, when we put together this ordinance, they decided they did want to take a conservative approach. Okay. And that approach, quite honestly, was based on the research that we did about what has happened in other states and other communities the same size as Roswell. By taking a conservative approach, by putting in controls to assist with public health and safety, to make sure that we get all the information that we need, by taking that slower approach, we let people get into the marketplace, we get to analyze, we get to adjust, and then it's far easier. And this is the one thing that I'm not sure that everybody understands.
Okay.
When it comes to legislation, whether it's local or state, it is far easier to loosen the reins than it is to tighten them down.
Okay.
So
they went uber conservative, and they'll loosen it as they see where it's probably areas they can do.
And then I don't think anybody has denied the fact that the City of Roswell, the City Council, the previous City Council anyway, wanted to take a more thoughtful, long-term approach to this. It's not that we were violating any state laws. There was still as was proven out last night, there is a path forward. And we got the first two. Next month, we actually have, I believe, 4 additional cannabis facilities that are coming forward. They didn't quite get all their information turned in time for last night's meeting, but they got it. And then the month after that, we have another 1 or 2 coming in, including a couple of brand new facilities that are looking at. So everybody's moving through the process. And so I call last night a green letter day on our calendar because it proved that the approach that the City of Roswell took, while a little more time consuming and a little more thoughtful, certainly more conservative than some other states, some other cities that just threw the doors open wide, is a valid and thoughtful and very legal approach.
Sure. Is it basically, to try to kind of, break it into the simplest terms possible here, is that the philosophy was we rather get it right than get it fast, and by doing that, they're slowing the process, but they're going very conservative and saying, okay, let's cover all bases, and then as more and more people go through the process, it'll be streamlined to like, okay, maybe this is a bit excessive, we can back off here. This is a good part. We need to ramp up here. Am I kind of? Am I oversimplifying it here? Or is that pretty much?
You're not. I mean, I've worked for municipalities, and I've worked with the cannabis industry in 3 different states before coming to New Mexico. I worked on projects in California, Arizona, and Colorado. All the states take a slightly different approach, and each municipality within the state takes a slightly different approach to how they do it. That approach reflects the culture of the individual community.
Gotcha.
Some cities, and I'll use California as an example because that's the one I'm most familiar with.
Sure.
There are some cities in California that got on the bandwagon very early, and they still took a very specific approach. They wanted to get into the cannabis industry, but they wanted to get into the cultivation, the manufacturing, everything else. They weren't quite sure about the recreational retail sales part of it.
Sure.
So they would approve a portion of the industry and then say, we'll wait and see where the rest of it goes.
Gotcha.
And they
use that as a microcosm.
Yeah, they used it as an economic driver.
Gotcha.
They wanted to. There were other cities that looked at it, and just from the cultivation standpoint, they said, you know what, we like the idea, but we're a farming community first. And knowing and understanding that the efficacy of the product, the cannabis product, is going to determine its retail price, we believe that we should take advantage of indoor grow technology rather than letting people come in and take good arable land for food and produce and convert that to cannabis growth.
Gotcha. Because the farmers are like, I can make more money with the cannabis, and now we got an issue like everyone's growing weed, no one's growing corn.
Exactly. So if you go to the deserts of California and Arizona, or you go up into Colorado, what you'll find is these incredible high technology growing facilities that operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and allow for product to be produced 12 months out of the year. Gotcha. You don't have to worry about the growing cycle.
Because they can control the sun, all the climate conditions.
You control everything.
Yeah.
And going beyond that, because with an indoor grow, you are allowed to, number one, you use a tremendous amount less water per plant, because you can recycle, you can reuse, you can control the amount of water that you get in there.
So
you don't have infiltration problems and things.
Pardon the pun, it's more green growing.
Yeah, it is. But the bottom line is with an indoor grow, you produce much better product as well. And so that's where I hope our industry is going to go.
Yeah. And that's where the science is.
That's really where all the science is. Yeah. And what is happening in other areas is you're seeing that indoor grow technology being driven by the cannabis market that's now filtering into the traditional agriculture market. And so you're finding places that have very high-tech greenhouses now that are growing tomatoes all year round and growing green leafy vegetables.
So that technology that they kind of discovered in cannabis, they're transferring over to food.
Well, they're certainly making it a lot more viable, that's for sure. And of course, because more people are using it, the cost, as we all know, the price of technology does tend to come down over time as it's adopted. That's why these monitors that you have here in the studio that were $2,000-$3,000 only a decade ago are now $295 at Sam's Club.
Yeah, exactly.
But the technology comes down, and that's one of the things I really do hope with our local producers, because I believe it was the gentleman from NMTO Ultra Health that pointed out the challenges in the industry right now are finding. They said they could certainly sell a lot more. They could generate a lot more tax revenue for the cities if the supply chain was broader.
Gotcha.
And so what we're seeing is the industry is growing and prices are going up at the retail level because the supply chain
It's all supply and demand.
It's all in short supply right now.
Demand's very high, supply not so much.
So it's a and we have even paved a way in our own city ordinances for those indoor grow facilities, for those high-tech facilities. If somebody wants to build one of those, they just need to come to our office. We'll talk to them. We'll let them know where they can put those facilities and what they can do. But like I said, the bottom line and the reason I do believe last night was so important is it was a proof of concept.
Gotcha.
Last night, it really was that we took a very thoughtful approach. Yes, we were ready to go in January.
Sure.
And that all people needed to do was go ahead and apply, go through the process, which the first two have done that. They've gone through the process. 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks and 2 days from now, they'll be at the city council level, and the city council will make a final determination.
Nice.
And we will have our first couple of recreational cannabis facilities here in Roswell.
So assuming everything goes according to plan at the May meeting here, then hopefully by early summer, we're starting to see the recreational side.
Actually, they should be able to start selling immediately thereafter.
Like the day after or whatever, their logistics are up and ready to do so.
And that's, the last night's meeting did include a variety of, if you read the staff report and looked at all the information, there was a series with a conditional use permit. We supply the applicant with a list of what we call conditions of approval.
Okay.
You need to provide these things before you open. Okay. And in that list, there was a number of different things that they need to do. I can pretty much guarantee they're working on them today.
Nice.
In advance, because they do want to open. They do want to convert immediately. And I would imagine, because the next meeting is on a Thursday night, that they probably want to begin selling for the weekend.
Yeah, I would.
I would imagine they'll be in my office frequently, and they'll be getting everything in place that they need in anticipation of a positive reception at the city council meeting.
Just a GWIZ quick question, and I have no idea. As far as, like you said, both of these two companies are medical, and then now they're going also recreational. Now, is their plan to offer both at the same facility, or do they have to go one place for the medical, one place for the recreational?
No, the answer to your question is they will offer both.
Okay.
In fact, the gentleman Leonard Salgado last night made the presentation for Pecos Valley Production, and he actually brought in samples of the. Now he didn't let us try them. But
brought brownies, everybody.
But he brought in copies of all the information to demonstrate the and showing the packaging and the labeling on the packaging, showing the information that was provided along with it,
what it's going to look like when you go to buy it.
And again, letting everybody know that the pursuant to state law, that a certain percentage of the product must be set aside for the medical cannabis users.
Gotcha.
You cannot go 100% retail. You must provide a certain percentage. And in truth, I think what we're going to find is that there's going to be a pretty significant balance. There is, I know I believe most places are setting aside 20 to 25%, but I've heard that some of the facilities around town, or not around town, but certainly around the state, are looking at, it's more of a 50-50 balance.
Okay.
They're seeing about 50% of their merchandise still go out the door as medical, and 50% go out as recreational.
And as they get a larger sample to study, they'll probably tweak those numbers to be a little, you know what I mean? Because let's face it, this is all new for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And so after a couple years of numbers, they'll probably have a better idea of those percentages.
Oh, I'm certain their marketing people are staying on top of this, and their supply chain people and everything else. They're making sure that they have adequate supply.
And I'm sure they're
gearing up for adequate supply for everyone.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're looking at like Colorado's numbers, because I think they're probably the oldest numbers in the book as far as stats on cannabis.
Colorado definitely, I believe, is with respect to the recreational industry.
Yeah,
Colorado is the oldest.
So.
California is the oldest with medical.
Medical. What did I say? Yeah, because they started
1996.
Yeah, I'll say I was like early 90s. I know it was way ahead of the curve.
96. That's actually an interesting story, because there's been a lot of information going around about where did the term 420 come from and things like that. And California, I have to give the state legislature in California just a bit of credit for being at least a little bit creative. The Senate bill that approved medical marijuana in California was Senate Bill 420.
Ah.
Okay. Now, of course, as I was writing the ordinance for here in Roswell, I wanted to play on that. I wanted it to be Chapter 420 of our development. The city council wouldn't let me do that.
Nah.
Neither would the city attorney.
They didn't want to have the meeting at 420 either.
No, couldn't get it. The legal committee wanted to meet at 9 o'clock in the morning. Come on, 420. Let's have a little fun with this.
Right.
All right, but
We'll do fun
like last night was again. It was an interesting. I am really happy that Pecos Valley Production and NMTO Ultra Health stepped up, and they were the first to come in.
They're setting the example.
They both made great presentations last night. They answered all the questions that came from the Planning Commission. They answered them well and thoughtfully, and it was actually, I believe, a relatively easy decision for the Planning Commission to recommend approval.
Nice. They did their legwork. They did their homework. They dotted their I's, crossed their T's, and now we. Good luck in May here at the City Council, and we wish them luck, and hopefully the business thrives and does well here in Roswell, New Mexico.
Well, and that kind of leads us into if we have time.
Yeah, we got time. Let's talk a little other development things happening around town.
The growth that we're seeing in that industry, of course, as well as the growth that's happening out at the airport, new restaurants and other things. Of course, that's driving new residents, and the city and our local builders and developers are responding. Last night we had another two subdivisions, actually units of a major subdivision up there off of Country Club at Nevada come through. So the Planning Commission approved another, I believe, 110 home sites as well. And it's a good thing we are, because at least as of right now, our local builders, the reports I continue to get back, in spite of some of the supply chain problems and in spite of the cost of doing business going up, they're still selling everything they can build as quickly as they can build it. So
demand's there. It's
demand is
as
there.
Supply comes in, they're going and doing it.
And that's one of the nice things to see our local building community stepping up. They know there's a market there. They are responding to that, and that's one of the things I want everybody to understand, is that there's going to be some challenges with the growth. The prosperity. Economic prosperity does not come without a price. There's always an upside and a potential downside.
Absolutely.
And I do want everyone to know, because there were questions that came up, not only at the Planning Commission, but at the City Council meeting last week, relative to traffic flow, relative to water supply, and we are incredibly lucky here in the city of Roswell. We have a wonderfully talented and very capable team that works for us, from the city manager to our public works director, city engineer. I'd like to think that my office in community development, with our planning and zoning team and others, very professional people, very talented people. In fact, I will put up the team here in Roswell against any team in the state. And they're looking at all these things. We understand the cumulative effects of growth. For myself in particular, having come from a rapid growth state, and I went through 3 big boom and bust cycles, again, the thoughtful approach, being able to know and understand, okay, with growth comes these challenges, and we're able to get out ahead of it before it becomes a major problem.
And that's the only way you can really stay up with those good problems to have when it comes to growth,
Right.
And so that's something, and I'll say, to the credit of this city, that's something they've always, that's like the infrastructure and things like that. They're always been pretty good at trying to be 2 steps ahead with the infrastructure of this community. So when we have these booms of building neighborhoods, guess what? They can tie the water in, they can tie the roads in, and it doesn't create a big quagmire over in that area.
And that's where the difference between being proactive and reactive. We do have a very proactive, forward-thinking team here at the city, and there are things happening behind the scenes that are going to make the the development over the next decade very seamless.
Yeah.
It's going to be, not that I'm saying there aren't going to be some challenges.
Sure.
We've still got maintenance issues. We're still going to have to shut things off and block a few roads and do other things. But you're going to find that they're going to be planned. They're going to be they're not going to be reactive. Like, unfortunately, we've had some water main breaks recently.
Yeah.
Those, there's nothing you can do about those other than get out there and take care of them as quickly as possible.
And unfortunately, what happens on those is they'll get a water main break, and because the lines, generally these are the old lines that break,
Correct,
that haven't been replaced yet. So what happens is they'll fix that line, but it creates a pressure, like couple feet down, and so what happens is they'll fix one, but it begats two more sometimes. So it's literally like plugging holes with fingers at some point. So that's generally why these delays happen, is because they really open to fix one thing and they open up a can of worms with something else.
It is, and water is the most difficult.
Yeah.
We have a lot of. I mean, let's face it, the city is 100 plus years old.
Yeah.
And we have some pipes in the ground that I think are nearly that old.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of, this just isn't Roswell. This is across the state of New Mexico. You know, what was it, 80 years ago, whatever it was, when they kind of put these pipes in, and they just lived past their shelf life. You know, I think they were designed to go 50, and now they're here 80 and pushing 100 years.
And of course, the you know, with our naturally hard water that we have here, the corrosion and other things that go along with it. So yes, you end up fixing the pipes in one place, and then you go back to re-energize the pipe. You want to open it up. You want to repressurize. You want to blow everything out. And what you find out is now you've created a problem downstream.
Yeah.
And you create another problem downstream. So you end up chasing things until you get everything fixed.
Until they go in and just place the whole line, which is what you've seen in various parts around town.
And of course, any of the new development that's coming in, they're using the latest and best type of product that should have a much longer shelf life. We won't have near the problems that we've had in the past. And we again, I'm looking for still a very, very bright future for the city of Roswell. I am proud to be a member of the team, and I'm looking forward to coming back next month and reporting on even more good stuff.
You know, and we do appreciate you keeping us up to date here. But one thing I do want to, you know, maybe end on this note here is we've got it pretty good in this community. When in terms of a community that, you know, we've been, you know, face it, from base closures throughout time, we've been hit with some curveballs in this community, but this community's thriving pretty good. I mean, yeah, we had some hard times back there after base closure and things, but really, things have been growing. It's been a constant. This city's growing. It's not dying, and that's something that not all communities in New Mexico, in this part of the country, can say. And we're very fortunate there. We have, you know, sure, yeah, we got problems like everybody else does, but you know what? It's, you know, this community, people are coming here. Things are growing. These are all good things, and we want to continue to foster that. So,
Yes, you know.
Good deal. Well, thank you, sir. As
All
always,
right.
appreciate it. Of course, if you have any questions for Kevin, don't hesitate to send him an email. You'll find it City of Roswell's website, roswell-nm.gov. .gov. I'm sorry. Go there and shoot a message.
Yeah, click on the community development tab. You'll see my information. They just took a wonderful picture of me, so I'm assuming that Juanita Jennings is going to put a brand new picture of me right above my contact information on the community development webpage. But just click on that link. You can drop me an email, or better yet, pick up the phone and call. That's the on the webpage. It's a direct line, comes right to my desk.
There you go. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate the visit, and we'll see you next time.
All righty.
We look forward to talking about newer and bigger stuff, too.
Always.
Excellent.
Always.
Thank you, Kevin.
Always something good to report.
Excellent. All right.